Hello everybody, my name is Sunny Rabbit, and in case you couldn't tell, there are layers to this video, like an onion. Today we'll be peeling back the skin and taking a glance at the family dynamics that we have in the clans. The first relationship we'll be discussing is the cats and their siblings. The closest relationship shown tends to be littermates. Siblings almost always do everything together, even if they have contrasting personalities. Ivypool and Dovewing, Lionblaze, Jayfeather and Hollyleaf, Violetshine and Twigbranch. No matter the circumstances, I can't think of a time siblings became estranged from each other due to differing values or an argument they had. In the main series, at least. The most distant relationships for siblings tend to be due to narrative reasons. For example, Needleclaw and Rootspring or Bristlefrost and her siblings. They aren't distant per se, it's mostly we don't see them together since major plot events are happening that pulls them away from their siblings. Siblings from other litters don't seem to interact that often. On the occasion a family does decide to have multiple litters, the older siblings aren't shown to take a lot of interest in the younger ones. Whitewing did become a mentor to her younger brother Dunose, which was neat. The next closest relationship would be parents and their children. For 6 moons, kids live in their nursery to be raised by their mothers. Kids tend to have good relationships with their mothers, don't look a crooked star, and for the most part tend to stay on good terms. Apprentices are shown to go to their mothers for comfort or advice. Fathers aren't as close with their kids, though this could be my own interpretation. We have fathers spend time with their kids, though the relationship seems more oriented around hunting and fighting. Kids get closer to their fathers after their apprenticeship, unless it's someone like Berrynose, Dustpelt, or Fernsong, who are shown to be in the nursery or have special interest in their kids while they were still young. Tigerheart was probably one of the more attentive fathers in this series. He was with Shadowsight during the whole arc of the Broken Code and did everything he could to protect him from the false Bramblestar. For more distant relationships, we have grandparents. I'm finding it hard to pull a really solid example of protagonists spending time with their grandparents. Alderheart, Sparkpelt, Jayfeather, Lionblaze, and Hollyleaf were all the grandchildren of Sandstorm and Firestar. Sandstorm was around for the longest and seemed to have a good relationship with Alderheart and Sparkpelt during the journey to find SkyClan. Graystripe gave Badger rights to his grandkids. Hawkwing tried to be supportive of Rootspring. Being a grandparent is like parenting light. Maybe Warrior Plus? Diet mentorship. Final answer. Mates are the final relationship we have in regards to families. Having a mate is like having a husband or wife. There isn't another term for cats who are boyfriend and girlfriend. Mate is a catch-all term that is used. Bumblestripe and Dovewing were mates, so were Sandstorm and Firestar, though it's obvious they were at different levels of intimacy. Rootspring and Bristlefrost were deeply in love with each other, though the word mate was not used for them. They never became official mates. The word has various uses, usually context clues are needed to understand the current situation. Spiderleg and Daisy were mates, though Spiderleg never intended to have kits. He was distant toward Daisy and his kits. It would be hard to call them mates at that point, even if Daisy and him never officially broke up until a little later. The second layer to the relationship onion is that cats tend to keep track of who their kin is, but not relationships like cousins. We know in the first series they refer to Cloudtail as Firestar's nephew, but in later books default to using the word kin, then describing how they related. Which makes the Flipclaw situation really weird. In Graystripe's vow, a group of cats went off on a wandering to find themselves. Among them was Flipclaw, Fernsong's son, and Flywhisker, Fernsong's sister from another litter. Flipclaw had a crush on Flywhisker. It wasn't called out in the books that Flipclaw wanted to be with his aunt. It's just weird that this happened in the books. Usually distant cousins are okay to be together, or even first cousins going off of Heathertail and Breezepelt. But Flywhisker and Flipclaw were way too closely related. What the intention of this was supposed to say, I don't really know. They really could have had any other cat like Rosepetal. Flywhisker was just too close for comfort. Speaking of Rosepetal, by the way.
Rosepetal seems okay. He mewed. I was worried the Wind Clan cats might have hurt her. Bramblestar gave Berrynose a puzzled look. Have I missed something? He wondered. Berrynose is still Poppyfrost's mate, right?
For the uninformed, the implication is that Bramblestar thinks Berrynose might be interested in his... Wait, let me check my notes. His half-sister. Bramblestar needs to check his wiki pages or stop playing 12 minutes. The third layer is my own thing I do when listening to the audiobooks. I have this weird thought process when thinking about the cats and the clans. Whenever I hear the names, instead of thinking of the cat itself, I tend to form a family tree in my head, particularly cats like Cherryfall and Molewhisker. My thoughts go, Cherryfall is the brother of Molewhisker, Molewhisker is named after Molepaw, Molepaw was Poppyfrost's brother, and Poppyfrost and Berrynose are mates, so Molewhisker is their kit. Why I do this, I have no idea, but around the Broken Code, I stopped doing this, mainly because it's hard to tell families now. Ladyhearts was mates with Snowbush and had some kits, but the only ones I remember from the litter was Larksong. I'm not sure who Sorrelstripe is mates with. There's an entire generation of warriors I'm not familiar with because they grew up off screen. Fernsong, Swirlstripe, and Hollytuff were born and apprenticed in the comics in Bramblestar Storm. By the time Apprentice Quest started, they were already full warriors. So I can see how Flipclaw and Flywhisker might have slipped past the weirdness net. Berrynose and Rose Petal were both in Power of 3 and onward, so I'm not quite sure about that one. That's all I have to say on the topic of families and relationships in the clans. Some could be surface level considering we have 30 cats in each clan currently. It's weird that Mouse Whisker outlived all of his siblings at this point, being the only surviving kit from Daisy. Giving him a mate in ThunderClan could help with the genetic diversity a tad since everyone is a Firestar or Cloudtail descendant. Considering Cloudtail's grandparents are Firestar's parents, it could make the ThunderClan family tree look more like a tumbleweed if more of the Brackenfur and Greystripe lines die out. It's not like there's a shortage of cats who aren't related to Firestar or Cloudtail. Thornclaw and Brackenfur were littermates, so anyone from the Greystripe line might run into trouble with Cherryfall or Mulewhisker though. Warriors didn't really think through the not taking mates from outside the clan rule. What we're seeing now is a logical conclusion when side characters die at the ripe old age of 2, but anyone related to the main protagonist gets to stick around.